I remember I was in the summer bungalow colony, my parents, my family, friends, and I had learned to swim. I was a pretty good swimmer in the swimming pool. I would go swimming every day, but then I wanted to dive. I wanted to learn how to dive. And for some strange reason, I would go up on the diving board, and I was afraid to jump. I just had this irrational fear. And it wasn't because I was afraid of water. I swam. I knew how to swim. So I remember I used to think to myself, why am I afraid to dive? Okay, I said, maybe the diving board's too high up. Let me dive from the edge of the pool. So I stood there, also wouldn't dive. And then you start playing all these games with yourself. Okay, I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. And I count, then you have some excuse, I'll count again. Okay, I'll count from 100 to 1. Count from 1,000 to 1. So a whole summer passed and I never dived. I was afraid to dive. And it was the strangest thing because, again, I was saying to myself, what are you afraid of? What's going to happen? Your stomach will split up? They have this thing. Anyway, the next summer, same story. I did the same thing. And then I decided, you know what, I'll try a new trick. Instead of just standing on the edge of the pool, I'll sit and I'll just drop myself in. It's not such a big drop. And even that, for some reason, I just had this crazy fear. Then finally, a friend of mine snuck up behind me without me knowing, and he just pushed me in when I was trying this thing. And that was it. I got over my fear. He pushed me in, and I swam, and then I went back, and I dived from the edge of the pool, and then from the diving board. I got over the fear simply because someone pushed me. We are about to embark on this unique annual journey called 60 days that prepare us for the journey, and then as we travel through the month of Elul, and then the month of Tishrei of the high holidays. I've written a special book called 60 Days, a spiritual guide to the high holidays, to help us travel on this journey. But this year, there's something special. Its message could not be more timely. We're living in difficult times. Our brothers and sisters are under threat in the Holy Land in Israel. Jews everywhere, as one family, we all feel it, wherever we may be, the rise of anti-Semitism. There are many things that are uncertain, unpredictable. So please join me in this journey, 60 days, a spiritual guide to the high holidays. But I always, as an adult, tried to analyze, what was this? I stood on the ground, that was not a problem. I have no problem being in the water. What was the concern, the fear? Here's my theory, the fear of change, which means standing on the ground, we know how to do. You know how to swim in the water, but that split second, you're not in the water and not on the ground, is the fear, a certain unknown. It's like a suspension. And I realized that we are all concerned the transition of change is fearful because you're not used to it. It's something new. And we always gravitate to that which was comfortable for us, that which is easy. We're secure with it. But on the other hand, all growth comes only when you change. Because if you stay, like they say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Or I like to put it, if you think what you thought, and you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're going to have, what you had. It's a mathematical certainty because nothing's changed. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. But there's a fear because there is a change of the climate, a change of environment, of atmosphere. And that was it's my own psychological theory. And I think it's critical that people realize that growth is always going to come with some discomfort. And that's where the path of least resistance comes in. I say it always to people. I said, if you're more comfortable in this painful situation, you're going to stay there. It'll only be when it's less comfortable to stay there than to move. Like you see this, God forbid, the Stockholm Syndrome of people who stay in relationships that are abusive. A woman will stay in a marriage where her husband beats her physically. You think this is crazy. But it's the known evil. And the path of least resistance, until that mother or sees her husband being a threat to her children or something else shakes her up, she starts lowering her resistance and says, you know what, I can live with this. It's my fault, so find no excuses. But that's what people do. The path of least resistance is what you will choose, even if it's a terrible choice. So you have to realize that there is that fear, but all growth is going to come from that. I mean, who doesn't have that element? When we go into adolescence, when we leave our home every child cries when you go to school the first day or camp. There's the unknowns, but that's how you become an independent person. So you need the proper balance. I'm not suggesting anyone has to do anything radical, but every metamorphosis is require a transition. And the transition, I'll use an expression from mystical teachings, that there's a state of being. To get to a new state of being, you need to go through a void, a vacuum. You need to shed one layer of skin to assume a new layer of skin. There's no other way. And that's always life. Creativity is always going to be followed by frustration. Because the more creative, the more novel is the new energy, the more the discomfort is going to precede it. Disruption has to be seen as a stepping stone towards higher states of growth, toward a paradigm shift.
You know, a lot of the things we've spoken about in our previous conversation as well was having awareness to be able to change. And it was a bad situation that created that awareness for change. But like, again, in these situations, like, could you just speak on the reality of that? And is it something you see quite a lot?
Is the only catalyst for change greater pain or greater challenge? Unfortunately, in many cases, that's the way, because that's human nature. If you're comfortable, what's going to motivate you to move? I meet people and I say, you're too comfortable. If you're very comfortable, God bless you. I'm not here to make you uncomfortable. You know, someone once told me they'd like to make me a business card. You make happy people miserable and miserable people happy. You know, if someone's too happy, they're not going to grow. But it's not my job to wake them up, you know. So there's no catalyst that's better than a painful situation. I would love to say that a person who's in a painful situation should have an epiphany or something. They suddenly see the light and they say, this is not acceptable. But if someone's been breathing toxic air for years, they get used to it, to the point they'll say, it's not so bad. You know, they're living in darkness. I got used to it. It's not so bad. But healing, they call awareness, is half the process of healing. If you're not aware of a problem, if you're minimizing it, denial is another one. So unfortunately, in many cases, it comes through something where you finally hit rock bottom, as they say. Something really shows you this is not acceptable. But are there exceptions? Of course there are. I've seen people, a moment of grace, or someone they met, or something they saw, and they realized, what am I doing to my life? And that's what we like to do. I mean, when I meet with people, they come speak with me, and many people do. I don't try to read them the riot act and tell them how bad this is. I try to wake them up the other way around, showing them there's a better alternative. But unfortunately, sometimes recognizing how bad it is what wakes people up. But it could come through light. It can come through darkness. We always try to do it through light, through something positive, being exposed to something positive, you know? A lot of people don't even realize what healthy love is. They've been so exposed to unhealthy love, so they expect that. And when you show them, 1 second, I'll show you another approach to love. And they say, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that people love each other, actually are kind to each other. I thought, oh, you love each other, you always hurt each other. There are people who have told this to me. I remember one sitting right here, and I had a woman was sitting to my right. She was gone through a very traumatic childhood. And I don't know, I reached out my hand to go pick up a napkin or something, and she flinched. I said, why are you flinching? She said, I thought you were going to slap me. I said, why would I slap you? She said, because that's what I'm used to. I used to get slapped by her loved ones, so to speak. So here I'm being kind to her. So the next thing she thought, I'm going to slap her. It was irrational. She apologized, but I suddenly realized her reality has been so jaded and so distorted that she thinks that's natural. That she's going to be, for no reason, and that's unfortunate. So hopefully we can wake people up without having to hit rock bottom, but sometimes that's how it happens.
I also, again, want to bring some awareness to the book. Also your courses, the website, the Instagram pages, the YouTube channel, all going to be linked down below.
If you enjoyed any of that you've heard here, Toward a Meaningful Life is a book that I distill all these teachings. I have another book called The Spiritual Guide to Counting the Omer and 60 Days, a Spiritual Guide to the High Holidays. We have the website, meaningfullife.com. We're on Instagram, on YouTube, of course, Meaningful Life Center. And please subscribe and join us. And I have many courses. I have a course called Discover Your Personal Mission. I have a course on the 4 elements, the spirituality of the 4 elements, on how to toward a meaningful mood. Got a lot of material. Just check out meaningfullife.com. There's plenty of material there.
Thank you so much to Rabbi Simon Jacobson for doing this. I know we've used this theme before, the escaping of the matrix, but with today's social media presence, the way in which we interact with everybody, I do think these videos are very, very valid. Thank you so much to Rabbi Simon Jacobson for articulating it in this way. Remember, it is the Black Friday sale at mulliganbrothers.com. Use code BLACK at checkout for buy one, get one free across the whole range at mulliganbrothers.com whilst stocks last. As always, guys, as well, we're trying to build a community here, and I'm asking you guys, please hit the notification bell and join the 10% of viewers who are subscribed to the channel. Yes, that is only 10%. By the end of 2024, I want to be at 30% of you guys subscribed to the channel. So hit those buttons down below, hit the join button down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.